Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing your ex thinks this about you. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing your ex thinks this about you. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will want to know their thoughts on things. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 things that your ex-dumper likely thinks about you. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is you didn't want it to end. Now this might sound kind of obvious if you are the dumpee and they are the dumper, and that I'm suggesting that your ex-dumper believes and thinks that you didn't want it to end. And although that might be somewhat obvious, it's really important we break it down in regards to what this means about why your ex believes this and what it means in your potential future. Because if you want to try to get your ex back, it's absolutely vital that your ex-dumper isn't believing this when they get to the stage of reconsidering the breakup. And they will. Your ex-dumper will, no matter what has happened between you, get to a stage in the future, likely many months down the line, where they self-reflect, where they wonder, where they get to that crossroads and ask, have I made the right decision? Now, when they get to that point, they can't be thinking to themselves, well, my dumpee didn't want it to end, and they probably don't want it to end even now. I could have them if I wanted to, because they will be my safety net. They're likely just waiting there for me. If your ex-dumper believes that when they get to the crossroads, you are very unlikely to reconnect. So yes, it is somewhat obvious that at the time of a breakup, if you have been dumped, that you, no doubt, didn't want this to end, whereas your ex-dumper made the decision, actioned the breakup, they went one way, and they left you where you were. But we can't have you just standing still and waiting for them, because that's literally what your ex is believing is going to have happened. They're going to be thinking you are going to be their safety net, whereas they can live their life doing whatever they want, and then months down the line, if they change their mind, you will be there waiting for them. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that every dumper is thinking this in a literal sense. Most dumpers will probably be thinking this in a subconscious way. It's not like they're going to verbalize it or post it on social media, okay? It's not going to be in that regard, but deep down inside, they believe and they know you didn't want it to end, which makes them feel more powerful post-breakup. Because what they wanted took place, and what you wanted didn't. You didn't want the relationship to end. That didn't take place. They did want the relationship to end. That happened. This means, in the context of the relationship dynamic, they have the power, and unfortunately, you don't. And if they are the powerful one, we have a power imbalance. We could describe it as a value imbalance. Now, I'm not saying you're not valuable. Of course you're valuable. You're a human being. We're all incredibly unique and incredibly valuable. But in the context of this relationship, you have less value than them, because they have decided they don't need to be with you. Whereas you probably begged, pleaded, tried to overly reason as for why your breakup shouldn't take place. You're pushing them on that pedestal. You're giving them that power. You're saying, I need you. Without you, I can't live a successful life. I need you in my life. That is what you perhaps literally said to them. So if you are saying that to them, you are pushing them on that pedestal, you are giving them that power, you are giving them that value, and unfortunately, you are losing yours. And if you are losing yours, if you are that person who is less valuable in regards to the relationship, if you have less of the power, then unfortunately, you have less bargaining tool, you could say, even on a subconscious sense. Of course, not suggesting that you try and bargain with your ex to get back together, but subconsciously there is almost a dance going off between you. And your ex-dumper believes that they have made the decision for them, and you will be waiting for them no matter what. We can't have that happen. If you want your ex back, they need to believe that you are now happy with this decision that they actually made, and that you are living your life to the full. Because unless they believe you have gone down your own path and that you are happy, well, unfortunately, they have got no fear. They have got no rejection. And yes, you heard that right, dumpees. They have no rejection. Even if you're thinking, well, how can I reject them? They dumped me. Well, if you go and live your life to the full, they will feel somewhat rejected, despite the fact they don't want you to chase them. Okay, so get your head around that. This is where it can be very, very confusing, and it can be mind-bending. It can be a real confusing element, but it is absolutely true. This might be a bit of a paradox, but your ex-dumper doesn't consciously want you to chase them, but subconsciously they expect you will. So if you don't do that, that is how, in a subconscious sense, you can make your ex-dumper feel rejected. You can make them feel discarded. You can make them feel all of the feelings that you have felt. And remember, there is nothing more attractive than rejection. If you are feeling rejected, you are drawn to your dumper even more. If they are feeling rejected, in this paradox, they are likely to be drawn to you. And this is, of course, what we need if you want to try and get your ex back. So point number 1 about what your ex thinks about you, well, they think that you didn't want it to end, and therefore they believe you still don't want it to end. We need to make sure that is not what they believe at the time they get to the crossroads and at the time that they might change their mind. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have the new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is you won't date anyone for a long time. So today we're speaking about what your ex-dumper thinks about you. And point number 2 is that they don't believe you will date anyone for a long time, if at all. Now remember, in point number 1, we was discussing how you are not someone that they believe is going to be living their life to the full. Your ex-dumper believes that you are going to be waiting for them as their safety net. Now what does this actually mean? Well, it translates to you not dating new people. Now it might even go to the point of where your ex-dumper just thinking to themselves, I don't want to be with my dumpee, so why would anybody else want to? I don't see them as a dateable option, so I can't imagine anybody else would. And even if they do, it will probably be a very long time in the future, by which point I won't really care. That is what your ex-dumper might be thinking. I've heard many dumpers tell me that is what crossed their mind at the time of a breakup and beyond. Well, what's really interesting, dumpees, is that if and when you do start dating new people, if and when your ex-dumper finds out, and trust me, they likely will, you don't have to let them know. You don't have to directly contact them. They will just find out on the grapevine. That is how it often happens. If and when they find out, they don't feel like they expected. Remember what I said. The dumper often believes that even if you do start dating dumpees, by the time you do, they probably won't even be bothered. Well, dumpers have told me when they find out this information, it hits them hard, and it hits them harder than they could ever have imagined. Now remember when I said a moment ago that they believe that you are not likely to find a new date because you are not a dateable option, because your dumper didn't see you as a dateable option. So why would anybody else? Well, if and when you start dating, you become that dateable option. You are showcasing yourself as someone that others want to spend time with, that others want to be romantic with. This is social proofing. If other people want to date you, Well, you must be dateable. And if you are dateable, then maybe your expert-dumper got it wrong. In particular, if your expert-dumper finds out you are dating and actually thinks to themselves, this person is of higher value than me. They are of higher value than them, the dumper. This suggests that if this other person, this new person you are dating, is quote-unquote better than the dumper, well, you must be very valuable. And that is where things can really come into play. But what are we talking about? Better than. What does better mean? Well, it depends. It could be a whole manner of things. It could be physically more attractive in your ex's mind. Your expert-dumper knows this person, sees this person and thinks, wait a minute, they're more attractive than me? And they want my dumpee? Have I done something wrong? Have I made a mistake? Why did I dump them when somebody I deem better than me is dating my ex? This is where it can become very confusing, but it's not just about physical attraction. It could be someone who is more successful, somebody who has achieved more creative. Whatever the reason, your expert-dumper might view this new person as better than them. This is where it can really fall into place for your ex starting to feel a level of jealousy. And here's the really interesting part. Even if they don't believe this new person is better than them, or maybe they don't know anything about them, those pangs of jealousy still hit most dumpers. I've been told it time and time again, and it is a shock. The dumper acknowledges, I've ended this relationship, I didn't want to be with my dumpee, so why do I feel kind of weird that they're now dating someone new? Well, one of the possible reasons is that your expert-dumper is probably not going to be living the wonderful life that they predicted they would post-breakup. Maybe they entered what I call the single honeymoon period post-breakup and lived somewhat of the life that they hoped to live, experiencing new things. Maybe they dated a few new people themselves, but it would have come to an end. Most dumpers leave that single honeymoon period, 6 to 12 months, alone. They often leave it without having the things that they craved the most. They're feeling that loneliness, and then they find out that their dumpee is actually achieving more than them. How can this be? I made this decision, and I've probably made the wrong one? Somebody I deem better than me is dating my dumpee, and I'm alone? What on earth have I done? And this is where that level of jealousy can start to rise in your expert-dumper, and they can start to regrow romantic emotional attraction for you. And as a dumpee, that is what you need. You need this level of attraction to hit the necessary high point, and if and when it does, this is when your ex might reach out to you. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is you aren't able to match their needs. So today we're speaking about what your expert-dumper likely thinks about you. And point number 3 is a sad reality, which is they don't believe you are matching their needs. Now, if they did believe you were matching their needs, they wouldn't have lost romantic emotional attraction and they wouldn't have dumped you. So this is again, kind of like point number 1, somewhat obvious on a surface level, but what does it mean and what can we do? Well, if you are not matching their needs, this is why, as I've said, they lost romantic emotional attraction, it dropped to a necessary low point, and then they action the breakup. So what we need to do is try and reverse that trend. Now, this doesn't mean you have to start acting as someone you aren't. If this means you need to change as a person to somebody you don't really want to be, well, this isn't something worth doing, and it isn't something that you can truly do, because we can only act for so long. But if you can go through genuine personal growth to actually want to be some of the things that your ex didn't think you were, well, this is going to mean that they will start to feel more attracted towards you. Now, what could this be? Well, it could be a whole manner of possibilities. Maybe, for instance, when we say your ex-badumper didn't believe that you were able to match their needs, it could be in a physical sense. Maybe they lost physical attraction towards you. Well, if you start to live your life in a healthier way, maybe you tweak your style a little bit, nothing major, but just making sure you look fresh, making sure you look healthy, making sure you're living your life in a way where you improve yourself in every physical possible way you can, this is where they are likely to start believing that you are someone who matches their needs, remembering that they were with you in the first place, so this suggests that once upon a time they found you physically attractive. If you can get to that point, which is often about living a healthier life, again, maybe just tweaking that style here and there, this is something where you could match their needs. But physical attraction is just one possibility. Maybe they don't believe you are ambitious enough. Maybe they don't believe you are going to be moving forward in a way that they would like you to. They are living their life, but they believe you are stagnating. This is where you need to focus on what you can improve within yourself and within your life. Maybe this means getting new further education to improve your career prospects. What job you have right now maybe is something they would hope you would try and climb that ladder. And again, if this is something you truly want to do, then that's great. If you don't, well, I think you should always try to improve yourself, but again, you need to make sure you are doing this for you. But career and something where you're showcasing ambition is another possibility of where they might not believe you are matching their needs, but you could absolutely turn this around. Perhaps they wished you were a bit more creative. Maybe this is something they always liked in people and never really saw it in you. Well, could you learn a new creative skill? Do you have a talent that maybe you used to showcase, but now it doesn't really get shown? Maybe you could nurture it, grow it, live it, love it. These are the things you can do to try and match your ex's needs. Again, only if this is something that you really want to do for you.